everyone. It is time for Brawcast. Here we are, back prime time on the Sunday nights when you used to have to watch Heartbeat and Last of the Summer Wines and Songs of Praise. Fuck all that. It's the new home of Brawcast here on Sunday nights. My name is Billy Kirkwood. Don't worry about Googling me. I've never heard of me either. Let me explain exactly how this show goes for you. It is put on by the sexy motherfuckers at Brawbeard Oils. And what we do is we get to meet not only people from the Brawbeard, bearded mustache, alternative lifestyle community, but we get to meet interesting folks from all around the world. We have had DJs, we have had ninjas, we have had models, we have had barbers, we've had pro wrestlers, comedians, MMA fighters, and so much more. And the way it works is we take a little bit of time from your day, get chilled out, have a conversation, and have ourselves a bloody good time on a Sunday night. So I tell you what, whatever you're doing, however your weekend going, forget about the weekend. It's just about to start. Let's see. Grab yourself a beverage and join us for a bloody good broadcast. Before we kick things off, there's a couple of little favors you could do. The show is entirely free, but if you feel like it and you're feeling generous, why not head over right now to Brawbeard's social media? You can like them on Facebook, you can follow them on Instagram, and of course, you can follow them on Twitter. Make sure to check out some of the amazing products. As the world is opening up, you can head out, get yourself some good gear. By that, I mean clothes, beard oil, mustache, not drugs, unless that's the way you want to go about it. Head over, check all that stuff out. Hiya, Janie Godley. I hope you're absolutely fucking amazing. There's an absolute legend giving life right there. She's tuning in on a Sunday night. I hope everyone is amazing, Janie. I hope you're great. But head over, check out all the stuff from Brawbeard. We're going to have ourselves a good time. Right, our guest today, ladies and gentlemen, we thought we'd do something a little different on the Sunday nights, and as we're kind of opening it up a little bit, we got ourselves a live broadcast. Thank you, Janie. That is absolutely amazing. What an absolute sweetheart, Janie Godley. The way it works is we fancied the idea of doing a little bit of a podcast takeover. How does that sound? A little bit of a podcast takeover. What we do is we reach out to some podcasts that we love. We thought we'd meet the people behind it, have a little chat with them, make it nice and relax, and have a bit of fun on a Sunday night. And today, we are excited because from Teapot 1, we are going to talk to the amazing Mr. Bruce Smart. And I believe Bruce is sitting there waiting to come on. Bruce, how the devil are you?
I'm good, Billy. Thanks very much for all that. How are you?
Yes, yeah, I am all right, mate. I am all right, as much as we can be. Are we? We never know how exactly these things are going. We've got people tuning from all around the world. Lots of people saying hi, Bruce, as well. First of all, we'll kick it off. You are the brains, brawn, beauty, shall we say, behind Teapot 1.
All counts there.
It's a very interesting Twitter bio, Tinder. Who the fuck knows at this point? Do you know? I did a video announcing we were moving nights the other day, and people were convinced I was pissed. This is water, I can assure you.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
This is water. But Bruce, I believe you have yourself a beverage there before we kick off.
I do, yes. Yeah.
Peter Hill, sir.
Biggest, and you, Slange. How about you?
Right. Before we let's get in about it. You are, first of all, you're down in Kent, just in case anyone is hearing the accent and they're thinking, two hairy Scottish boys just having a chat. I could see this on any street corner in the west coast of Scotland. You're down in Kent, mate, is that right?
I am. I moved down to England back in 2000. So I'm born and bred northeast of Scotland, lived in Glasgow for a while, and then moved to London.
So Teapot 1,
mm-hmm.
Tell me what is, for the layman, someone that's coming across the podcast for the first time, let's pretend I've never heard of it. What is Teapot 1?
Right, it's quite a long story, and I'll be as succinct as I possibly can. I'd always wanted to ride motorbikes, never done it. Okay. I'd always wanted to travel, I'd never done it. Right. My folks were sort of anti-bike, so it's not something I had in, when I was growing up or anything. Okay. And then early 30s, sadly, my mum had been diagnosed with cancer. It's part of the reason I moved down to London, because my mum was English and my dad worked in the oil. So when she was diagnosed, she wanted to be back with her family down south while my dad was away. Uh-huh. So mum's cancer was bad. She fought it for 10 years or so. And towards the end, it was getting really bad. So I moved her in with me while she was going through treatment. And one day, Long Way Round came on the telly. The Ewan McGregor, Charlie Borman thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, everyone. If I think it's had several different incarnations, but Long Way Round, when that first aired, was was absolutely huge. First of all, he was Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I know, and I think it's probably the first time we'd ever seen a travel log like that.
Aye.
Like everyone got on board. I think maybe it was on Sky. Maybe it was on Sky. I don't remember exactly, but it seemed to be everywhere, right?
Aye.
So you watched that. What influence did that have on you?
Well, I saw that 2004. My mom bought me the actual DVD box set for Christmas one year, and I watched it and always thought, oh, that's something I want to do. I'd love to do that, but can't afford it, can't do it. Blah 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 blah.
Okay.
Fast forward about 4 or 5 years, Mum's now in my flat, sat on the couch, not very well as she's going through treatment, and it pops up on like Dave or something like that. And I started to have a moan and just say, it's all right for him, Hollywood celeb, all that money, blah, 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 blah. And my mum just turned round and she said, look, you've always spoke about riding a bike. You've never done it. You've always spoke about travel and you've never done it. Don't get to my stage where you're facing the end and you regret what you've not done in life. As far as we know, we get one chance. So look after those that you love, but live your life. Wow. And like those 3 words are pretty much my mantra for life now. Live your life. So there and then I went online and I booked my bike, like the intensive 1 week course to do your bike test, direct access. So I did that. Excuse me. By the time I'd done that, Mum was very unwell and she decided she wanted to go to a hospice. She didn't want to pass away in my flat. Okay. So the day I passed my test, I'd bought a brand new bike already. It was sat there waiting for me. So I picked my bike up, put on my leather suit, rode the bike to the hospice where Mum was, and sort of walked into her ward and shook the keys at her and said, look, I've done it. I've passed my test. So she gave me a big hug and she just sort of said to me, promise me you'll do this trip. 5 days later, she passed away. So it was like, right, okay, I've got to do it. And that was it. Literally, she passed away 2008, and on her birthday, 2012, I left. And that was it. Went off and rode around the world.
Well, first of all, man, thank you very much for sharing that story with us. Very personal, something I think everyone could learn from your mum saying those wise and comforting words at that point. Isn't it amazing how mums never stop being mums?
Absolutely.
They just never stop being mums. They always just know the right thing to say at the right time. That's an amazing story. And that's kind of what we're about here in Brawcast is getting to hear those tales. And so you went and did the ride, which is incredible. And like you say, if anyone's thinking about these things, and I know the world itself is maybe not where we'd want it to be right now, but things will change. Absolutely. Things will change, and everyone needs to. Because I've every year I've said to my brother, the Rust to Rome. You'll probably heard of the Rust to Rome. Like, we're going to do the Rust to Rome. Now, first of all, me and him in a car, we probably murder each other, to be completely honest. Because I'll level with you. If I'm driving, I might be all right, but as a passenger, I'm a fucking nightmare. I'm the worst. I get bored. I get irritated.
That's the reason you should do it. Push yourself, get yourself out your comfort zone, and you never know what might happen with something like that.
I don't want him to kill me and leave me at the side of the road somewhere. In Europe, I panic about it all the time. I wake up in the sweats. But you did it, and that's one of the biggest things. You took ownership of a fear, the doubt, whatever it was, let it go, and you just went through it. So you hit the bike. How was that? How do you even go about what's day one on the bike like, making that trip? What's that even like? What's going through your mind?
It's probably the hardest part. Well, one of the hardest parts of that whole trip for me was leaving, and when the day came to actually go, and I'd got a bit of a social media following, nothing like it is now, but at the time for me, it was big. There's, I think, 500-600 people following it or something on Facebook. Yeah. And about 40 odd people turned up, 40 odd bikers turned up, and a couple of press turned up. And because this is where everyone's going to hate me that didn't know, I was a copper at the time, so I used to work it down. Yeah, I know. This is just so we know this. I mean, just ignore that. So I left from right outside Downing Street, and one of my charities that I did it for was the Royal British Legion. So we did it from the Cenotaph. So there was a load of people there, and obviously when Big Ben bonged 9, that was the time I said I was leaving. So we had a big escort, like my mates from the old Bill in traffic. They were all there in the bikes and cars to sort of see me out of London. And when it came time to go, all of a sudden I was looking at all my friends and family that were there. My missus was there, and I was just like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I leaving all this to to go who knows where, and face who knows what. So that was a hard bit. But honestly, once you're on the road, once I think it takes 5 or 6 weeks to settle into a big trip like that.
Right.
But once you've settled into it, it's just everyday life, except you're on a bike. You're worrying, where do I sleep? Where do I get fuel and food? And where do I have a poo? That's basically essentially it. That's day-to-day life,
It's interesting to see the levels, the list you put it on there. It's going for a shite is right at the bottom.
Well, those who know me will know it's maybe not always like that.
It's the Scotsman in you. You can't help yourself. It's always, where is my next shite coming from? That's what we need to know. But the reason I say about that is because it is so much. I can only think about back in the old days when I would hit the road to go and gig or go and tour and what have you. Seems like buttons in terms of what you're talking about. If anyone's been the amount of planning somebody will put in a family holiday and think, can it get more complicated than this?
Yeah.
How long were you away for in total?
442 days, about a year and a half I was away.
Bloody hell. Yeah. Bloody hell. So
I had a wee break in the middle.
Right.
Not in the middle. It was 7 weeks to the day I left. I was back in the UK because it went a little bit wrong in West Africa. So I ended up back in the UK for a wee bit just to try and. A long story short, I was relieved of a lot of money in one country. Just that I had a bad experience at that part. So I ended up back in the UK for a while, back to work, getting some money together. I managed to pick up a sponsor, which was a huge help. And left again and off I went.
Oh, brilliant. Well, it's even at that, hitting a stumble like that and being able to go, I'm going to get back out there is a huge thing. I mean, losing money suddenly, we've all been hit by the puggy machines. So I can completely understand what happened. So what were some of how many different territories? Because the little bit of research and stuff that I've got to find about it online, how many different places did you actually hit? Well, because we're not talking about, I mean, you were going through provinces and countries, and how many different places did you hit in total?
I went through 54 countries in total.
That's incredible.
Basically, I had to miss out in the Middle East.
Right.
Sad. I really wanted to see Syria, and I really want to see Iran and all these places, the stands, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan. Yeah. I really wanted to see all that, but just at that point, 2012 to 2014, Syria was basically just being decimated. ISIS was a massive problem. There's still plenty of people out there who've been and traveled through there during those times. People are doing what some people would think is insane stuff, but they're doing it and they're meeting lovely people and having great experiences. But I had a bad time at one point in West Africa, and I just thought, I think I've pretty much used my 9 lives here. I'm not pushing it by going there. So I missed out 3/4 of Africa. I missed out the Middle East, but I pretty much ticked most of the others off. The main continents. Yeah.
That's incredible. So, apart from some of the bad times, what were some of the real highlights? Give me a couple of the highlights that you could only experience when you were there. I mean, it's such a unique thing on its own. Like I've got to tour and I've got to stand on the banks of Lake Malawi and watch the sun come up. And it's can't be that many people that have done this. After just telling dick jokes to 5,000 very confused looking Africans, has to be said. Malawian natives who just didn't look like they knew what was going on. But again, it looked funny. So bless them, they laughed. But what were some of the experiences that you had? Give me a couple of just those unique moments, or even if it is just a moment of peace in a place.
I think the natural stuff sticks in my mind. Things like, I was in the Atacama deserts, the driest place on earth, and sleeping in that at night. And when you look up and you see the stars, we don't see it here in the UK because of all the light pollution. But when you're in the desert, in the middle of nowhere, and you look up and you see the Milky Way, and you just see like the depth of what is out there, it's an insane experience. I loved it. I loved sleeping in the desert. Things like Russia, I give talks and stuff about the trip, and Russia for me was a revelation. It's like one of the friendliest places I've ever been to. The people were just so giving, And it's a total opposite of what, I grew up through the Cold War, such as yourself as well, I'd imagine.
Yeah, yeah.
You're always taught Russia's the enemy, aren't you? And I think maybe when you go on holiday, your experience of Russians is maybe Russians with money, and they tend to come across as quite arrogant and quite obtuse, I think, a lot of the time. But when you're over there and you meet normal Russian people, I got chatting with a Russian guy because I snapped the frame of my bike twice crossing Russia. And I ended up spending like a day with this guy in his van. He drove me to the next town, like 24 hours. Just random bloke picked me up in a van and drove me there. And chatted to him about it. He was like, for Russians, it's very easy. If we like you, you're like a brother. So you're literally family, you're blood. And if we don't like you, we have nothing to do with you. We'll kill you. We have nothing to do with you. Just you're nothing. But if we do like you, you're family. So once I appreciated how the Russians were, they're a bit standoffish initially, and then once they've made that decision that they like you, they're just like literally. I stayed with a family for 4 or 5 days who didn't really speak too much English, and they just looked after me for 4 or 5 days in this Russian sort of estate whilst my bike was being repaired, and they dealt with everything. Wouldn't take any money for it, nothing, and they brought their family over, came in from other parts of Russia to come and meet me, and it was great. I loved it.
There can't be too many Scotsmen that are coming through on a bike. That must have come round. Vladimir, you have to come round. We've found a Scotsman. I think we're not keeping him. We'll have to release him to the wild again. But come, it's like having Shrek in the house. Come on round.
That'll do, donkey. That'll do.
Because like you said, there's this misconception. I mean, most of what I know about Russian people I probably get from James Bond and Police Academy films. You just kind of make that assumption. But I guess at the end of the day, we're people at the end of the day. But that's crazy to think that it's just a family's taking you in and looking after you while your bike's been repaired.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that. We're people at the end of the day, and that's definitely something that was reaffirmed time and time and time again on the trip. Is that no matter where you're from, no matter what town you're from, what religion you are, what culture you follow, what language you speak, it makes bugger all difference. Most people out there are exactly the same. They want to look after their family. They want to crack on with life. And if they can help you, they will. And they're interested in you as well. Everywhere, people, I'm the same. If I meet someone, you want to hear about them, don't you? You want to,
exactly.
Where are you from? What you do? Everyone's like that wherever you go.
Which I guess rather neatly, and we will come back to the adventures of Red in a bit, does bring me to the podcast. Which does bring me to your podcast, because one of the cool things is. I mean, obviously, you've had I had to ask, did you have a passion? You obviously had a passion for bikes for a long time, but or was that something that was ignited around about the time that you were watching the long way round? Because I noticed you said, well, you made the decision to go and get the license to get on the bike. Did you have a passion for motorbikes in general, like TT racing, and did you have a passion for all of it before then?
It was just something that, I always just thought, bikes are cool.
Yeah.
But I could never have one. My folks were really. It's turned out that I found out my dad used to ride a bike, which I didn't know at the time. Like before he met my mom and stuff. Exactly, nice. But I never grew up with bikes, so it was just something that I always thought, when I'm older, I'll get one. And then once in my 20s and I started working in the old Bill and had the money to get one, I just didn't get one because I spent my life scraping them up off the road, and it's just maybe these are dangerous, I'll not bother with it. But the second I threw my leg over one and rode one in my test, it just lit a fire. It was like, this is life. This is what I'm meant to do now. So,
and that's it. When you get passionate about something, you just kind of ingest everything about it. But it does bring me to the podcast. Like you say, you love talking to people, and we're all just people at the end of the day, and getting to hear other people's stories. On the podcast that you do, one of the coolest things about it is not a lot like this. You're getting to chat with people whose passions are involved with bikes. And what led to the podcast then? Because it's quite a shift from doing one thing. What led to the podcast?
Joe Rogan. I was listening to Joe Rogan and just thought, I love this format because for me, YouTube is all about keep things moving. You can't linger on anything on YouTube. It's literally every 6 to 8 seconds the shot's got to change. You've got to keep people stimulated all the time. And you've got to keep it as short as you possibly can, ideally,
to
keep that viewer retention. Whereas on the podcast, you look at like Joe Rogan, 3-4 hours, he's just sat there chatting, and I loved the way the conversation was real. It just it could go anywhere. You might be talking with like for me, I might be talking with a TT racer, but during that conversation, you might start talking about, I don't know, crikey, tiddlywinks or something. You just don't know where the conversation's going to go.
Well, just so I would like to apologise for the use of the word tiddlywinks if anyone's watching and if anyone is offended by that. We've got a lot of woke people that watch this. And
we're going to get deplatformed.
Jesus Christ, tiddlywinks,
I'm in the game.
Listen, I knew last year was a stripper called Tiddlywinks, and if she's watching, but that's one of the things. She says hello. She's next door. No, the thing is, you wanted to engage people in real conversation, and that's one of the natural things. I mean, we were talking about it a little bit before we came on. It depends on who you're talking to sometimes how the conversation goes, but that's how it is in real life. And Joe Rogan's a great example for that because, I mean, obviously he is planned and we know that there's an element of it that is produced and what have you. Of course it is. He's being paid, $140 million or whatever it is a year, but the conversation is general. You can go in other places. I doubt anyone's going to be, what's your favorite type of dildo? I don't know. If that could be the way the conversation could go. And if that happened, it'd be odd as what would I call it? But and how has that been the reaction for people that you've approached? Because it is a relaxed style. You're very easy to talk to. People really open up as well, which is cool. Aye. And I mean, people sometimes are like, I obviously want you to talk about, what I'm here to talk about. But it's nice to keep it quite open as well. It's like, definitely. Well, if we do end up talking about, the box set of, I don't know, Babylon 5 or Ghostbusters or something, and that's what we end up talking about. But how have people reacted then? How have people reacted towards it?
I specifically picked my first sort of half dozen guests because I knew that they were similar to me, similar mindset to me. They were easygoing. They would open up about everything and anything, but they're not, they weren't dickheads. They were sensible-ish people. So I knew we would have a laugh. I knew we'd have some fun. There's always a beer or two involved, which chills people out and helps the conversation go. So once, say, the first 6 or so were in the bag, I could then contact people who perhaps I didn't know or didn't know particularly well. And I could say, look, I'd love to get you on the podcast. This is what it's all about. Go and check out these previous, because it's on YouTube and it's on audio podcast format. Go and check them out. Have a look. If you think it's something that you're interested in, then I'd love to chat with you. So if people have that reference point, you know what I mean? Like they can look at that and go, okay, well, I'm happy in that sort of relaxed environment and that sort of manner, how that conversation may go. So far, it's not really been an issue. I've had one that I've had to, I don't edit them either. The long form, nothing's edited. That's just the way it is. Yeah. But one I had to alter slightly because an outside influence contacted me saying it would really help me out if you maybe just got rid of this little bit. So fair dues. I don't think I try and play it a little bit safer for John because it's like, bless him, and I know that he's watching and he would let me do anything, but then it's like, nah, I don't think I should do it because it's like a couple of Googles and you'll find some of my material and it's like, well, I don't think we want any of that in the show, man. Nobody wants to hear my theory and why I think all ghosts are perverts. No one needs to hear that. I do. Go. All right, okay. Well, let me explain. Right, if you just do the numbers game on this, Bruce, right? You do the numbers game on this. So, like, I don't know. I'd say 50 million people die every year, right? Just throw the number out there, right? Because there's 8 billion people in the world or something like that. So, with that definition, right, there has to be billions of ghosts around, unless you're alive for 100 years and then you die again, which sounds pish, but there you go, right? So, let's say at any given time there's at least 80 billion ghosts around. If you just do the numbers game on that, right, there's going to be at least a good billion who are all perverts. We're dirties. Absolutely. And there's no two ways about it. So basically, there's a good chance that anytime you take your trousers down, one of them's putting their finger up your arse. just because they can't help themselves. And that's why you get an itchy arse, right? that's my theory. And that's why not everyone gets an itchy arse at any given time. I didn't say it was a solid theory.
But
you just changed my life.
Derek O'Connor's not on the telly anymore. I could. I don't know if you want to be happy about that at all, to be honest.
Cut. Yeah.
We've had a phone call from Yuri Geller. I love the fact I tried to think of one psychic medium, and that's the only one I could think of. Do you think, and there's a good chance that just to make other ghosts laugh, I'm pretty sure Patrick Swayze probably goes into pottery classes and hugs people when they're on the. It's probably going to happen, man. Just. Right, but a quick message here. First of all, my ghost theory is reacted. Ever thought about taking the bike? We'll deal with some questions as they come in. If anyone does have any questions, just hit us up. We'll do them in real time. We like to jump around and keep it moving. Ever thought about taking the bike on famous routes, following the Orient Express and such like? So,
yes, I've done quite a few already. Like the Transfer Garrison Highway. That's a famous road in Romania. The Top Gear Road. Do you ever see that one where they went, it's in Romania. They said it was the best road ever. So on my trip, I was like, well, I've got to see that. I've got to go there and do that. So, I did that. Lots of places over in Spain. I tend to try and look for the iconic, riding roads. The ones that the must ride roads. So
everyone does. I hate to say everyone does. I've not done it. Like Route 66 is one that comes up. You've got the one here. You've obviously got the Highland 500. The Highland 500. But there is the one in Romania. What other roads? Any other routes that jumped out, or any other? I don't know, iconic or film ones you've thought?
There's one. Well, there's loads in the States, but there's one called the Tail of the Dragon in the States, which is a famous sort of biking driving road. Right. It's oh god, what's it on? The Blue Ridge Parkway, I think it is. So you've got Tennessee, Georgia, north and south. Oh blimey, what's my geography's gone. Can't remember. It's a combination of about 4 states that all meet, and there's this beautiful mountain range that's up there, and there's just amazing riding roads off of all of them, and one of them's called Tail of the Dragon. It's got 311 curves in the space of 11 miles, I think it is. So I did that on my trip as well. So yeah, I've got a list actually of these iconic roads, and I'll tick them off when I've done them.
Oh, brilliant! And so there is still more plans to get out there.
Oh god, yeah. The whole YouTube channel is. The podcast is like a subsidiary thing, really. The whole YouTube channel is that's my job now. I make my living on YouTube now, so
that's brilliant.
It's hard work.
Yeah,
but, I'm always looking for content for that. So it used to be I had a tour company. I'd take people away and do tours in Spain and Morocco and all this sort of stuff. But COVID arrived a week after I went self-employed when I left.
Oh no, shit!
Yeah. So it's been a rough year.
I bet it has, man. Well, that's the thing. Everyone's got to get so inventive. Again, we were talking about just before we went on. This has become my comedy club stage for the last year, which is mental when you think about it. Don't get me wrong; it's not nearly half as profitable as the actual job, but we make amends. But you've had to get creative with this, and the podcast, like I say, has got such a good reception, and because you've got legitimate experience that I think a lot of people don't have. And you talked about how you felt sitting down watching that DVD and the words from your mum, but in many ways, the stories that you're giving out and you're getting from people on your podcasts, have they been inspiring people in the same way, living almost vicariously through you and going, if he can, so can I?
They inspire me, but I get great feedback from people as well through social media. I listen to this podcast and that guest, and I found them really inspiring. I love their attitude towards life. I always try to get people on who have a positive out. There's nothing worse than getting somebody on that's just, oh, this is shite, this is crap. They were rubbish. I don't really want to talk to people like that. There's enough negativity in the world, so I want positive people on that are getting out there and doing something. So that's sort of as much fuel for me as anyone else that's listening. It's nice to have people on there and to interact with people and feed off them as well. And it's great to get the feedback off of others who get the same sort of positive impact from it that I do. So
I love it. well, let's get back a little bit to the trip around the world. Around the world, maybe. We've heard some of the interesting, unique experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to hear a couple of the bad ones, but let's keep them nice and light. Let's keep them more funny, shall we say, than bad. There's going to be a couple of ones, because for you to do over 400 days on a bike, there's got to be a couple that. I always put them as the experiences. You know, one of those ones where you're walking down the street and you go, "Oh, for goodness sake, I can't believe that happened." It's going to be a couple of those.
Definitely. I mean, I vividly remember on the trip some days just waking up going, I can't be arsed with this, you know. And then you have to sort of pinch yourself and go, get a grip. You're living the dream here. You're riding a bike around the world, and you know, some days you just want to be sat in your pants on your sofa watching shite TV. But there was one time at Bandcamp. There was one time that really sticks out, and I've spoke about it loads before. I'd contracted.
If this involves a flute, I won't know what to do. If this involves a flute,
flute would have come in handy actually on this one. But,
I'm very Scottish.
Well, they think I'd contracted dengue fever when I was going down through Indonesia. So I was feeling really rough, and I'd spent like 3 days just holed up in this room because I couldn't stay off a toilet. So, you know, I was just stuck. It was coming out everywhere.
At both ends.
Oh man, it was horrible. So, but I had to get to this ferry port to get this ferry to start island hopping my way through Indonesia to get down to Timor. So I was like, if I missed it, I think it was like another 5 days before the next ferry, and I wanted out. I wanted to get that ferry. So I sort of thought, I must be empty by now. There can't be anything left. Got on the bike. It doesn't help.
That's the most horrible feeling.
I know it does. I know. So I'm really sorry. If you're having your Sunday dinner, I do apologise.
All I'm going to say is, you described it, and I know for a fact there'll be plenty of people going, I know exactly that feeling. Yeah. I know exactly that feeling. So you're running empty, but thankfully the bike isn't. What were we up to?
I did the bike on a sports bike as well, a Suzuki G6R 1000, just because I wanted to be different, and that's the bike I owned. So, you know, no one was sponsoring me. That's the bike I'm taking. Okay. So, and I did it in race leathers as well, in 2-piece leather suit. So I'm in 100% humidity, 40 odd degrees in leathers, riding a sports bike with dengue fever. I was feeling rough as, and at one stage I thought, I think I'm going to be sick. And before I could stop, I threw up in my helmet. And at the same time that I threw up, it came out the other end as well. So I mean, I've got it on camera. I stopped.
No way!
Yeah. I stopped at the side of the road, and I was just like, today is not a good day, you know? Like,
I will level with you. If I'd have known that, I'd have been demanding the clip, and we'd have been looking at it right now. That's 250 quid on you being framed if ever I held it.
It was the aftermath. That was all. I don't think I went into as much detail to say you really don't want to see my pants at the present moment in time, but it wasn't a good day, that definitely. And I had to stay like that till I found somewhere where I could have a shower and a wash, which I'll tell you now was a couple of days later. So.
I've shit myself more times than I have any business telling grown-ups. I mean, I've told you this before. I shot myself on a seesaw once. I got hit so hard playing rugby, I shot myself, and it was like, I need to go. I mean, you've got to tell a field of rugby players, guys, it's bad.
You get a round of applause for that.
It can't be that bad. It's like, it's bad. It's bad. And then people got close enough and they went, it's bad. It's bad. When rugby players are going, grown men.
What position were you?
Well, I played sevens. So as you know, in sevens, like pressure, basically you're playing everything at that point. So my team were more than willing to go down to 6. Well, I went and cleaned myself up. So don't worry about that. And, I also watched my neighbour accidentally peg himself in a bit of fence yesterday, but we can talk about that another time. He looked right at me. I felt like I was part of it. Just as he's trying to figure out in his face if he liked it or not.
Good neighbours.
That's it. Do you know what I mean? He's going to be knocking on that door. Can Billy come round? He just needs to look at me when I'm doing something.
Tube and a hamster.
Yeah, I think I might move. now, actually. just in case anyone's wondering, the house is going to be, everyone's going to be going, I'll buy your house off you because it's going to be worth fuck all because you want to move. So we've had you effectively ringing yourself out on a bike, which I think is the only way we can really put at it. But you mentioned America. You mentioned America, which and obviously you traveled through other kind of Western culture places that we should say. The experience in America, it becomes almost so cinematic. Was there any particular? You talked about how embracing the people of Russia were and how they've been in other places. How was it in America for you going right across? Exactly the same?
Yeah, absolutely. Everywhere apart from this one Mauritania and West Africa. I don't know why they just didn't take to me at all. But everywhere else, I mean, like I love going to the States, but I'd only ever done, one of my best mates he lived in New York in Manhattan for a while. Now he's settled down and got married. He's moved sort of upstate New York. So we went there. My wife lived in Boston for a long time, so we'd go there. Oh. So that and sort of Florida were the only experiences I'd ever had of the States. It was like the touristy places, basically. Oh, so on this trip, I was literally going everywhere and just meeting normal people, normal people that I didn't know were following on social media or were friends or family of people that were follow on social media, and they would be like, oh, if you're in Texas, you've got to contact my second cousin 3 times removed, Bob, that lives here, and they put me in touch. And it's same again. People just opened the doors to, and their families to me, and the hospitality everywhere on the planet was amazing. It's just amazing. Now,
to do that and to go international as well, because like you say, when you're traveling to these places, people are going to go, that's the guy that drove through, Pensacola, Florida, or that's the guy that's going to just pick the name out of the air. I don't know why I think before this moment I've never said the words Pensacola, Florida. Don't know why that popped in there. Probably because it had cola in it or something. But you're going across all those places, and it is like people don't get how different. I mean, which I've never understood, because in the United Kingdom, and this, living down in Kent and having spent time in northern Scotland as well, it's just the differences in terms of culture, but the people do stay the same. And all these people, like you say, they've been following you and continuing to follow you on social media. We have to talk about lockdown, because what an absolute ball ache of a thing this has been. And we hope everyone's staying safe, and we hope everyone's going to get their shots, and we hope everyone's being careful, and we're going to get back to whatever level of normality we can sooner rather than later. Fingers crossed. Let's keep kicking COVID's arse. But how has lockdown been for you? Because we didn't get a lot of warning. Like you say, you were planning, like I had like gigs in the diary. I think, we all had stuff. We just had a baby. We were like, we're going to get out and travel. All that shut down. But it was like, people don't, I sometimes think, like, when we started hearing about it in February of 2020, which is really when it was, maybe a little before that. And then basically 2 weeks time,
boom,
shut it all down. It all down. How was that for you? I mean, you spoke about the fact that, and again, I've got nothing but sympathy, because I know many people that are in the same boat. You take the plunge, self-employed business, solid idea, people are interested, this can't fail, let's fucking do this. What was the thoughts going through your head, mate? Because you've talked about so much positivity. How was that for you for that period? How did you turn, no pun intended, how did you turn into the curve?
I shit myself initially, because literally within I was on a bike. Within, I think, the first 3 days of lockdown, I lost 2 sponsors that effectively made up, half my income at the time. So I was just like, oh shit, what am I going to do here? I've still got a mortgage to pay like everybody else. In fact, we got 3 blooming mortgages to pay. So, I was thinking, what am I going to do here? So I made some contacts back with my old chief governor where I used to work, to basically say, look, I mean, there's people that follow the channel know there was underlying. So I was under investigation because another copper complained about one of my videos on YouTube, said that I was speeding and riding like a dick. which you can watch the video. It's the BMW S1000R vid. I'm not riding like a dick. I was riding quick, but I wasn't riding like a dick. But anyway, they complained to our sort of internal affairs, which then meant I was served an investigation notice and effectively taken off front. I used to carry a gun, but I had all that taken off me and chucked in an office and told, you're there for 2 years whilst we look into this. And then they gave me the ultimatum. Yeah. Then they gave me the ultimatum that whatever happens, you have to stop all social media. You're not allowed to do any social media anymore. So it was basically at that point that I just thought, I think I've had enough of this job now. I've outgrown it. It's not what I joined for. It's changed. I don't like it. So I left, but I did contact my old governor and say, look, Gov, any chance? Can I come back? And he was like, yeah, you can come back, but I'll tell you now, they'll put you straight under investigation as soon as you come back. So effectively, it was like, I can't. I think I would rather, I'll get a job doing whatever. Okay. So I'm not going back into the old bill. That's then I was, because
that would have been easy. That would have been easy for, that would have been understandable. Maybe that's a better way of putting it, taking that.
It was my wife, actually. My wife is a copper. She works in the same department I used to, and she was just like, don't do it. You weren't happy. You're much happier out. Just don't do it. You'll find a job. I can work more overtime. We'll make it happen. So she's always been my rock. She was with me when I did the whole round the world trip. She stayed at home whilst I went and did all that. So she's a
I was going to bring that up. Like, what a complete. That she's a keeper. She's there. I said, yeah, she's a keeper.
I've tried, but she won't go anywhere. She was still there when I came back. It was like, oh god,
come on, look at this.
She might be listening. I didn't mean that, dear.
But she's giving you all the support, and it sounds like it's worked out.
Yeah. And things are just, the people that are following. Thank you so much to everyone out there. That I have a. Do you know what Patreon? You know what Patreon is? I have a Patreon sort of community, and that. It was like the bat signal went up as soon as COVID hit, and it just exploded. I went from having a couple of patrons to, I think there's 500 on there now, and those people club together. Even if it's £1 a month, they club together, and that makes up a big part of my income that's helped me survive through COVID. So I can't thank people enough for that. And just sort of. The first year was all right. Last year was okay. I was just editing. I edit videos, so I'm sat in an office editing all the time. So COVID wasn't really that much different. But this last one, since about December, I've found really hard. I've had enough. I want to get out there again.
I get you. Because I think we had the summer last year, and things seemed to be going in a positive direction, and then we started hearing that they weren't, and then. Yeah. Obviously Christmas, and again, if anyone's watching, and I say this virtually every other week, if anyone has lost someone or if anyone's suffered ill effect, our hearts are with you as much as they can be. Hopefully we will get out of this sooner rather than later. But I think you're right. I think certainly I felt that from social media. I felt that myself. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I'm, this doesn't affect me. It certainly does. But then you do realize you do have to pick yourself up, and you do have to keep coming through it. And it is nice because people do hold you up. People do hold you Absolutely. Up with even like you'll get a message or something, or and then you realize that it's actually a two-way thing. You're holding other people up and they're holding you up, and
Absolutely,
and you'll become a part of people's families almost. And how ironic that there you built up this following, you built up this because I hate using the phrase fans. I've never been a fan of the word.
No, I don't like saying that.
I always prefer supporters. And I'm saying that because I work in pro wrestling, I work in radio, I work in stand up, and those are all places where egos can get the better of people, and they can my fan base, and it's like I always think of people being like that as supporters, and the way you speak so fondly of the people that are on the Patreon and are listening in. Is that how you view these people that are listening to Teapot One?
Absolutely. I couldn't do what I'm doing, and I wouldn't do what I'm doing if it wasn't for the support and feedback I get from people. I'll not give out any specifics or names, but I've had messages when I was on my trip that have stayed with me ever since. I had messages from people who were terminally ill that were like, I've always wanted to do what you're doing, and I'm able to live it through you. And then I've had people contact me who are really struggling mentally, with COVID, with what's going on. And they're just like, listening to you chat with people on the podcast or that vid that you did on this bike where you went there, that is really helping. And I love that, being able to give something back to the people that are effectively, keeping me employed and letting me do essentially what is my dream job. I'm living my dream effectively at the moment. So long may it last. And I can't thank people enough for the support.
Look, man, you're motivational to me. That's all I'm going to say. As a comedian and all the stuff that I don't do. Like I logged into my YouTube for the first time in ages today and went, oh my God, I've got 500 subscribers. I don't use it for anything. And then I immediately was overcome with guilt of like, I should probably start doing some stuff. I should probably start doing some stuff. And,
I reckon it's got to be worse than crack, man. So like social media, because I always take the opinion that if someone's taking the time to leave me a comment, as long as it's not, you're a dickhead, you still get comments like that. But if someone's taking the time to leave me a comment, whether it's constructive criticism or praise or anything, I just think, well, I want to give them the time. I want to reply as much as I can. But
I'm a big believer in whenever anyone would come into a live show, it was always, and even with this, of course, it's like you could have done anything with your time. You could have done anything. You've been in here, and I really appreciate that. I'm hoping that you're not getting to the 50-minute mark and going, well, that was a waste of time, because I would basically say you need to be a better judge of time. Like, I have never been 50 minutes into a film and went, well, that was... I didn't get to the end, a Lord of the Rings, and go, well, that was 9 hours wasted. It's like, why would you ever do that? And something? It's the old expression. I'm a big believer of, why bother making a negative comment? It's like the equivalent of throwing dust at someone into high wind. It's just going to come back and hit you in the face.
It is. I'm a firm believer in karma. Like I used to be in my younger days. People that know me, like through my uni days, and especially when I first started the old Bill, was very cynical, and everything was just, pardon the pun, black and white to me.
Right?
It's right and it's wrong. It's this way or it's that way. That's it. Ultimately, that's the way it is. And the older I've got, I sort of become a bit of a hippie now, and I'm definitely like, I believe in karma. I think what goes around comes around. And I genuinely think if you've got a positive attitude towards something and you work for it, it'll happen. As long as you don't give up, it will happen at some point. As long as you keep doing your very best and it's what you really want to do, it will happen. And I kind of try to live like that, really. And
you're not going to make me cry, person.
But you know what I mean? Like there is a lot of negativity, especially in social media. There's a lot of negativity out there, and I'm just, there's enough. I don't want to surround myself with it, so I'll try and just push that to the side and just not bother with that.
Love it.
It is hard because occasionally you do bite back, don't you? And you're like,
oh God, yeah. I've been mean to love. Like I remember, like I got a tweet in my radio show not that long ago, and it was a guy saying, "Fight me, Billy Kirkwood," or whatever it was, and I literally looked at his, I can't remember, he had like 2 followers, whatever it was, and I sent him back a snapshot of his profile picture, and it went, "The only thing you're fighting is diabetes, you fat cunt," and I felt really bad. I felt awful. I felt awful because it was like, man, that was Godzilla versus Japan. He did nothing. He just hates the guy in the radio playing Pink. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's fine. He's allowed to do that. You know what I mean? I was in the wrong. He's allowed.
Aye. So the way I used to look at it when I was in the old Bill, and you'd obviously get a lot of abuse off of people in the street at times. And the way I used to look at it is, it's not personal because they don't know me. No. They don't know you. If they know you and they call you a prick, then okay, and there's venom behind it, then you're like, maybe I should listen to this. But if they don't know you, whatever, just let them vent off. But I came off Twitter. Twitter was just, I couldn't deal with it anymore. Just, I've had enough. I left that.
Look, mate, if anyone ever gets a hold of the hide list, that there's like comedians, there's so many people that follow me as well. They ever see them, he follows me, but he never really responds. That's because I can't see your fucking tweets. Why bother? Right, I tell you what, do you know the thing is, we are going to have to do a part 2 of this, or we're going to have to catch up a lot more, because this has been so much fun. We'll have to do
Love
this again. We'll have to do this again.
Absolutely.
But we've got a wee bit of the show where it's this or that. What I've got is a bunch of rapid fire questions for you. And we get all this and that for you. We just get to know a little bit, kicking the tires, if we will, before we get finished. We get finished up. So first of all, Google or Apple?
Oh, Apple.
Good shout. Good shout. Sleep in or wake up early?
Oh, I'm asleep in. I can't get my arse out of bed in the morning.
Okay.
No.
TV binge or read a good book?
I hate to say it. Probably I do neither really, but if I have to, it would be TV. But I don't really watch much TV.
I don't need a book. It's just ridiculous. It's like I just don't need that. I've got a dog that's always judging me. It's like why are you watching the film? Why are you watching the film? The book's so much better. Shut your face, you. You don't know me. Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Chocolate, good shout. Let's see. I don't know these people. Let's see. Red or white wine?
I'm not a wine. I'm just not a wine person. If I had to, probably red.
Let's see. Good shout. Good shout. Let's see. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Oh, right. Okay. Controversial. I agree with you completely. I agree with you on the.
I didn't clock that.
Big Coke fan. Big Coke fan. Cute kittens or fail videos?
Oh, it's got to be fail, innit? It's got to be
Everybody
fail.
loves a good fall. I mean, we all talked about positivity, but everybody loves a good fall.
Absolutely.
Everybody loves a good fall. Bright colours or neutral tones?
Well, believe it or not, I actually like bright colours. I'm a big fan of red or blue in colours.
Oh.
Aye.
Text message or phone call?
So this is where I'm changing as I get older. Used to be text, probably now phone call.
All right,
but I don't do any very often anymore.
I'm a big phone call guy. See if it goes beyond 3 texts, I will phone you. So
just phone me and get it over and done with.
What and the reaction people give you? what are you phoning for? I'm just not wanting to write a novel to you. Will you just pick up your phone?
Especially if they FaceTime you. They FaceTime you. You're like, what are you doing? Just no.
Especially when a guy FaceTime right and they look like a thumb with tits or something. They're just like, you hold the phone in front of you. Last couple, too hot or too cold?
Well, which would I prefer?
Yes.
Probably cold.
Probably cold. Good shout. Aye. And finally, where can people get more information about the Teapot One podcast, your good self, and how can they support you continuing through this lockdown bastard?
Thank you very much. The best bet is just go to the website, teapot1.com. It's TEAPOTONE, teapot1.com. And there's links there to the YouTube channel, Patreon, if you want to go down that way. Yeah. There's links to the podcast website. The podcast is on all the main podcasting platforms, but there's a specific website there as well. So on all the social media, Facebook and Instagram, it's all linked from the website. So yeah, that's the place to go.
And finally, is there any chance we're going to see a director's cut release of, and you'll pardon the use of the word release, of you on the bike, taking us through that when you wrung yourself dry? Are we going to see a special director's cut at any point?
Oh, wow. Well, it's coming up for the 10-year anniversary in October.
We got to get the Blu-ray. We've got to get the Blu-ray.
So yeah, I'm thinking about doing a re-edit to mark the 10-year anniversary. So just for you, Billy, I might do that.
Yes, I need that in my life. Bruce, this has been so much fun. Let's do it again very, very soon. I'll pop you back in the green room and I'll finish up here on Brawcast. Everyone, make sure to check out Bruce Smart, Teapot One, all the information. Don't worry, we'll put in the links. Everyone, give it up for the wonderful Mr. Bruce Smart. Thank you very much, sir. All right, that's all we've got time for on this episode of Brawcast and our brand new slot here on Sunday nights. Don't forget, you're going to be able to check out all the archive over at the Braw Beard YouTube page. You can also subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. Check out the audio version of this podcast. That's right, you can listen to it in the car, you can listen to it in the bike, you can listen to it in the penny farthing if you're that way inclined. Make sure to check out all the old episodes. We've got some fantastic guests and loads of mental guests still coming as well. And don't forget to check out our wonderful guest today, Mr. Bruce Smart. Head over to check out Teapot One. It's an amazing podcast. Lots of fun to listen to. Whether you're into bikes or not, you're going to meet some interesting people then you're going to have yourself a bloody good laugh. Right, that's all we've got time for on this week of Brawcast. Oh, a couple of bits of business. Don't forget, tomorrow night, you can check out Monday Night Improv. That's right. It's the show I do along with some other amazing comedians. Totally improvised, made up on the spot. We do comedy sketches based on your suggestions. Monday night, 8:30. You can see it on Twitter, you can see it on Facebook, and you can see it at the Stand Comedy Club's YouTube channel. Tune in, completely off the cuff, completely made up. Make sure to check that out Monday nights. Right, well, we're going to be back next Sunday with another brilliant guest. I have been Billy Kirkwood, I think. Yeah. Is this even Sunday? Who are you?